third grade students at Virginia Virtual Academy. Happy 20th day of the first 20 days of reading. We made it. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful that you chose to join us on this journey to becoming better readers and thinkers. Today we're going to review all the awesome things we talked about and how much we've learned. I hope these videos have challenged you and encouraged you and started you off on the right foot to being a great reader and thinker this year in third grade at VAVA. We are so thankful to be your teacher and so thankful that you joined us on this journey. Give me a virtual high five right now.
Remember, on day 1 of the first 20 days of reading, we talked about how reading is thinking. We asked, have you ever stopped to listen to the little voice in your head as you read? We talked about how we call that our reader voice and how it helps us think about and understand what we're reading. We even modeled how to do this with the dot. I hope you remember that video. Today, on day 20, we're still talking about reading as thinking because it's such a big concept. And as you'll see, our thought bubble has been filled up with all sorts of topics that we've covered over the last 20 days. We've talked about making connections, connecting events in real life to what we're reading, thinking about characters, considering what genre we're reading, finding answers to our questions as we read, asking questions as we read, like, what does this word mean? Or keeping events in order. And we've talked about asking if this makes sense, stopping to make sure we're understanding the story, and so much more. We've talked about ways we choose books, the 5-finger rule, thinking and talking about your reading, text to self, text to text, and text to world connections, and how to know when it's right to abandon a book. We've talked about reading as thinking. We've used Post-it notes to track our thinking while we were reading. We've read different kinds of fiction and nonfiction and talked about how to know when they're different. We've talked about using sticky notes to prepare us for our journal or letter writing. Wow, we've covered so many different topics that are making us better readers. This one is focusing on writing. Remember, we talked about how your writing is evidence or proof of your thinking while you're reading? We talked about how you could track your writing with Post-it notes and turn that into awesome letters that show your thinking. We talked about different journal topics that you could choose from on day 19. We're not done yet. We've talked about checking your understanding as you read, which is called comprehension. We've talked about must-read books that you want to share with others and how to do that in your letters. We've also talked about solving unknown words, which is called decoding. Today, on day 20, we're going to focus on 2 steps of the writing process and how to use these 2 steps in order to help your letter be the best letter possible. So let's look at revise first. Revising means to make changes to improve your writing. This would be like reading over your paper to make sure it makes sense. Editing means to proofread and correct your mistakes. This would be like fixing your spelling or your punctuation marks to make sure you're clearly communicating what you're trying to communicate. Let's look a little closer at the difference between revising versus editing. Here we have a saying for revise called ARMS. The ARMS stands for add words or sentences, remove unneeded words or sentences, move sentences or words around, substitute words or sentences for others. Remember, when you're revising, you're reading over your letter to make sure that you're clearly communicating the exact way you want. When we look at editing, we see the saying CUPS. CUPS stands for capitalize names, places, titles, months, and the letter I. Usage stands for match nouns and verbs correctly. Punctuation stands for punctuation, changing your punctuation to make sure it's reflecting what you're trying to communicate. And the S stands for spelling. Make sure you check all your words and use a dictionary if you need to. Here are some common proofreading marks that you could use during the editing stage of your writing. This sheet shows you the symbol, the name of the symbol, and example of how it's used. You could always pause this video to use this to revise your letter. Here are some more proofreaders' marks that you can use when editing your letter. Punctuation really helps you understand how to read a sentence and where to pause when you're reading. For example, I could say, "Where did you see Mr. Sanchez?" like a sentence. Or I could say, "Where did you see Mr. Sanchez?" There's a difference there when you become a fluent reader. Your punctuation changes how you read the sentence. So it will be important in your letter to make sure that you revise, to share what you want to share, and to edit to make sure it's correct. Happy reading and writing! Our first 20 days of reading is over, but it's just the beginning with our Class Connects. So everyone give me an internet high five, or a virtual high five as we call it at VAVA. Because whoop whoop, you did it. Thank you guys for joining us on this journey to becoming better readers and thinkers. I can't wait to help you in our Class Connect sessions. The journey of a lifetime starts with the turning of a page. Reading a good book is like taking a journey. Goodbye for now.